Yang berbahagia Encik Muhammad Nazar bin Taufik, Pengurus Besar Pusat Haji, Pengatur Besar Majlis Haji, Dr. Dr. Nabi Rasul, Tertulis Anak Zafi Danish. Barisan Urus Sosial kita hadir yang dihormati sekalian. Saya, Dr. Jami Akhilah Putri Saini, selaku pengacara majlis pada hari ini. Hadirin yang dihormati, selamat datang saya ucapkan ke majlis ceramah Grief, Bereavement and Trauma. Kompang bergema Pusaka Bangsa dipalu oleh setiap anak muda. Hadir Puan meriah suasana, kami menyambut penuh gembira. Hadirin yang dimuliakan, pepatah Melayu ada mengatakan tak kenal maka tercinta. Sebelum kira ceramah dibuka, serta saya membacakan sedikit pengenalan tentang penceramah kita pada hari ini. Nama diberikan Muhammad Nazar bin Taufik. Beliau merupakan penulis besar untuk Pusat Hati bagi kesedihan, duka dan trauma, serta salah seorang penasihat yayasan di hati. Salah satu peranan beliau dalam hati adalah untuk memastikan operasi harian pusat berjalan lancar dan memantau kisah laku profesional penyokong kesedihan. Selain itu, beliau juga membantu dalam menyuarakan dan mendidik masyarakat tentang kepedulian menyokong individu yang sedang bersedih melalui pelibatan aktif dengan komuniti, melalui ceramah umum, penampilan media dan penyertaan dalam pelbagai kegiatan. Tanpa melewatkan masa lagi, majlis dengan ini menjemput dan mempersilakan Encik Muhammad Nazar bin Taufik, penceramah kita pada hari ini bagi menyampaikan ceramah beliau. Dengan segala hormatnya, majlis dipersilakan.
Terima kasih banyak-banyak. Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera everyone. Saya Muhammad Nazwan Taufik daripada Di Hati Center for Grief, Bereavement and Trauma. So before kami start, just a little bit of disclaimer lah. The topic that I will be sharing hari itu is going to be quite heavy. So kalau anytime ada berasa triggered or anything, please bolehlah step aside dulu just to come down for a while, and then you can just unpack again. So the topic that I will be sharing hari itu adalah grief akibat kehilangan. So I will be mixing sedikit English and Malay sebab there are some words dalam Malay yang tidak dapat translate that well. There are some words in English yang tidak dapat translate that well into Malay. So for example, we are talking about grief. Grief, bila kita translate into Malay, dia kesedihan. Tapi kesedihan in English is sadness. Tapi in grief is not sadness, not just sadness. Tapi it's actually a sadness due to loss. So grief sebenarnya itu adalah kehilangan sebab kesedihan sebab kehilangan. So when you talk about grief, ada bereavement dengan mourning. Grief itu berduka dan berkabut. Apa beza? So grief adalah a psychological component of bereavement, the normal response to pain of losing someone. Grief basically adalah tindak balas biasa bila kehilangan seseorang yang disayangi. Emosi, kesedihan, rasa marah, rasa guilty, semuanya adalah normal reaction to grief. Next adalah bereavement. Bereavement is the state of fact of being grieved of someone or that you love or something that is valuable. So bereavement yang berduka ada keadaan seseorang yang sedang berduka yang kehilangan seseorang atau sesuatu yang berharga. Dan finally, mourning, the action and manner of expressing grief, of which is often culturally related. Tindakan yang cara berduka. So mourning itu berkabung, macam kita tengah menangis ataupun tengah berdoa tahlil. Berdoa tahlil yang semua adalah mourning. So, is it grief? Apa grief? Grief itu sebenarnya, adakah grief itu adalah hanya orang yang meninggal saja kan yang causing grief? Sebenarnya banyak. Grief is not only caused due to death. Okay, I think just to continue where I left off, is it free? Is it free? Sebab there are more things that rather compared to debt. Debt is not the only thing that causes grief. So, for example, okay, this is a very long list. May asal dapat kita baca from here, it out. So the first one, obviously, we have the death of a loved one. This one obviously akan menyebabkan grief. So next, even divorce can cause grief. Divorce, we have hilang kerja, hilang professional license. Kita bersara pun boleh cause grief. Ataupun kadang-kadang happy event can cause grief. For example, graduation from school can cause grief juga. Sebab kita rasa sedih, kita akan hilang masa-masa dengan kawan.
Personal one to three.
Sorry, ada intermission sikit. A serious injury or a loss of limb. Kita hilang tangan, hilang kaki can cause grief. Sebab you lost the life that you used to have and you lost the future that you could have had. So that is also a grief. Kehilangan. Kita lost your safety, loss of safety due to trauma. For example, rumah kita kena pecah masuk and you used to be inside it. Kita si rasa selamat lagi dalam rumahnya. So that is a loss of safety. Ia pun grieving juga. Kadang-kadang so when you go here, I feel a good one. Significant move. Kita berpindah can cause grief. Kita birth of the first child. Kita mungkin melahirkan anak pertama pun boleh cause grief kadang-kadang. In a way, ianya postpartum depression. It can lead to postpartum depression. Or miscarriage, an adult child leaving the home, infertility, death of a pet. So yang banyak orang selalu they don't take into consideration the loss of a pet causes a lot of grief juga. Tapi banyak orang they don't realize that it's actually grieving juga. Bukan lagi saja. Aging, loss related due to traumatic event, loss of intellect, sometimes loss of belief in God pun boleh cause grief. So macam mana? It's not just that saja yang causes grief. Right. So death, since we are on the topic, the most common type of grief is death. So for today's ceramah, mostly akan cover loss related to death. And death so, one way or another akan come to all of us, whether we like it or not, semua orang akan grieve. Right. So, I mean, after some of you mesti pernah dengar of the Kubler-Ross 5 stages of grief. So we have denial, which is confusion, avoidance, elation, shock, fear, anger, frustration, rasa marah, rasa irritated. Bargaining, struggling to find meaning. Bargaining would be macam kita rasa regret, constantly trying to get back what you could have had. Rasa depression, overwhelming helplessness, hostility, rasa kesedihan yang amat dan dalam. Dan akhirnya acceptance. So all this apa maksudnya sebenarnya? So sometimes a lot of people they think that mesti mengambil grieving mesti go through all these steps. Tapi kadang-kadang there a lot more there's a lot more deeper meaning between each of these steps. Maybe we start some example. Right. So here we have again the 5 stages. So for denial, gini rasa denial sebenarnya. So denial can be like, it felt as if they are still here. Rasa macam yang masih ada tu. Kadang-kadang bila balik rumah, kita buka pintu, kita expect him to still be there, expect them to still be there. Tapi ada the feeling that they are still there. Yeah, in a way it's denial. I can't believe they are gone. Saya yang dah pergi. Ataupun I don't want to see reminders. Kami cuma nak apa-apa yang mengingatkan. So gambar arwah si mati tak tutup semua. Yeah, that is a form of denial juga. Ataupun bilik arwah si disentuh, dia macamnya the same as they left before. Ya pun it's a form of denial juga. Or kita rasa kami okey je, tak rasa apa-apa, rasa aja. In a way that is also a form of denial. Okay. Second, anger. This is all their fault. Semua salahnya. Kalau ni asyik langgar peta bapak ambil, mesti bapak ambil masa lagi. That is anger. Ataupun in a more extreme cases, how can God let this happen? Kenapa Tuhan belajarnya? That is anger juga. It can be quite dangerous lah kalau ni go deep into anger. Or Why does this happen to me? Kenapa berlaku dengan kami? Why me? Kenapa? And then I hate you for leaving me. Yang marah dengan si maki. That is anger juga. Kenapa leave me? Now I'm all alone. Or semua salahnya. Sama je, it is all my fault. And then next, bargaining. It is all my fault. Semua salah kami. It should have been me. Yang macam yang mau replace, yang mau try to trade places dengan si maki. I will pray every day, so please don't let him go. They say macam a loved one dah mengidap diagnosis terminal. So kita berdoa setiap hari, please ya Allah save my ayah kami. Dia kami akan jadi bayi dengan mayang setiap hari. So please sembuhlah dia. That is a form of bargaining juga. Or mun kami sekolah sampai isinya masih hidup. If only kami push saja untuk pergi merawat, push saja pergi agak doktor, isinya masih okey. That is a form of bargaining, but it doesn't necessarily mean it will change anything lah. Okay, next, depression. How am I supposed to go on without you? Gini mau hidup, kata semua rasa hopeless. You used to do all this, but now I can't live without you. Kami dulu di rumah kita yang handle semua barang itu, tapi adoption kita tiada, kami yang bola. Si pandai bola. How do I keep going? Hidup sudah rasa tiada makna. That is all under depression. And finally, acceptance. Acceptance-nya, I will bounce back. I will move forward. I will honor you. Yang macam dah, I have accepted that semua tu dah berlaku, and there's nothing I can do to change it. So, ada these 5 stages. Kita rasa everyone got every stage. The importance is every stage tu. Which stage tu kita rasa not important, si bagus. Sebenarnya every single stage tu is good and important for the grieving process. So even though orang yang rasa marah ataupun orang yang rasa denial, let's say for example during a traumatic accident, si cayak yang pun leponnya dah meninggal. Tapi at that time dia tengah shock. Kalau for example, kalau dia go through denial, kalau dia accept aja all that shock, dia boleh breakdown at that moment. Siapa buat mungkin dia akan boleh pingsan all that. So these stages, denial on that is safety mechanism that your brain has created for yourself. So quite clever job lah buat itu. So kita usually fikir that these stages tu sebab they call it a stage nak. So you think that we will go kita start dari denial, anger, pasca bargaining, depression and then acceptance. Tapi actually it's not that simple. Orang kita fikir we'll go through in a single line. Tapi in actual fact, when you're going through grief, it's more of a roller coaster. Kadang-kadang you may start of depression and then after that suddenly start in denial, or kadang-kadang you start to reach acceptance. And then all of a sudden something reminded you of the grief, something reminded you of the death, that triggered, and suddenly you're back in depression again. You're back into anger. Suddenly you learn a new info. Macam tu hal, and then back to anger again, back to this. It will never end. Sebenarnya, the grief will be with us forever. So jangan bersedih lah kalau kita rasa macam dah 20 tahun lebih dah sampai my kesayangan dah left me. Kan boleh rasa sakit, akan sedih. That is normal, that is okay. So I may give another example from Dr. Richard Wilson, who were full of grief. So kita imagine, for example, the river of life. Kita tu is on sungai. So that is your normal life lah. Kita just on the sungai, it's calm, and then suddenly kita terjun masuk dalam waterfall. So that is when the loss happen. Kita tengah terjun, free falling, rasa the accident happen, you lost your loved one. Kita rasa shock. In that stage, kita rasa shock, denial, siapa. Because your life is turned upside down. Your normal life masih normal lagi dah. So bila kita terjunnya full down into loss and emotional circle, dalam whirlpool dalam air, kita terjun kena masuk dalam air musing, kita tengah drowning. You're drowning in your grief. So from there you can go to 2 places, either on the rocks. On the rocks maksudnya pain and physical symptoms of grief. So tanya kita macam kena semua batu-batu dalam lower pool ya. So sakit, physical pain, kita rasa lemah, ada selera, all that, just umpama macam ni lah. Or you will go to washed up on the shore. So in that analogy-nya, maksud more like kita severe disorganization or breakdown. You cannot organize yourself because you're all just there, stuck on the shore. Yeah. So if we want to go through a healthy grief, then slowly they will move towards mourning and acceptance on the reality of love, because you realize that this is already your new normal. You have accepted that this has happened, so semua dah berlaku, there's nothing you can change, and you will be back on your river of life again. So everything is back on the river of life, tapi semestinya smooth sailing all the way lah. Since grief tu, bila masa, it will come back to you and hit you like a wave. So we're all talking about grief tadi. Banyak saja grief tu, macam complicated je. What is normal grief? Sebenarnya grief, apakah grief yang normal? So grief tu, we start off tadi, as I mentioned before, grief adalah reaksi emosi. So rasa sedih, rasa anger, kadang-kadang boleh rasa lega juga, rasa lega dalam grief. You feel relief when it happens. And that is something a lot of people don't talk about lah, the feeling of relief in grief. Kalau mula that one we can go deeper lah. And then next is perubahan tingkah laku. These are the things that happen that is common to happen during grief. Perubahan tingkah laku. Mungkin rasa hilang selera, hilang rasa mau jumpa orang, malas nak keluar, no mood more to go out, no mood to meet anyone. That one is perubahan tingkah laku. And then perubahan sosial. You don't feel like meeting anyone. Tiada rasa mau jumpa orang. You just want to be alone. You just want to stay in your house alone on your own and waddle in your grief. And then next is perubahan pemikiran dan perubahan persepsi. So it's the change of your mind. For example, let's say dekat US. Dekat US we have a lot of ada banyak gun violence. Let's say there's a tragedy involving gun violence. So parents yang sebelum tu maybe dia ada rasa ini have no neutral lah, rasa neutral dengan gun. Tapi ever since they lost a loved one, maybe anaknya died due to gun violence. Suddenly they are anti-gun advocates. So that is an example of how orang boleh merubah fikiran atau persepsi towards gun violence. Dan perubahan fizikal. Mungkin during yang pun grieving yang agak teruk, yang tak ada selera makan, and then yang slowly start to lose weight. That is something that you can see lah, perubahan fizikal. Dan akhirnya perubahan kefungsian. So during your grief, for example, a person that used to be the breadwinner dalam keluarga, used to be menyara keluarga. So suddenly the breadwinner dah tak ada lagi. So terpaksa you have to pick up that role in order to menyara keluarga. So that is perubahan kefungsian dalam keluarga when you're grieving. So what happens when grief is not supported? So when we have grief yang tidak supported, it can lead to complicated or prolonged grief. This one is already a clinical diagnosis. Kita lah sampai lah. And in worst case scenario boleh jadi depression. So our role sebenarnya as a community lah, we should be able to resolve resolve the grief healthily, to support the grieving people through this process. So there is no one right way to grieve. Tiada satu cara yang betul untuk berduka, untuk grieving tu. Some people mungkin yang suka menangis, some people suka berpakar, some people they prefer to keep on their own, some people suka bertulis. All that is a way of grieving. Tiada cara. What works for you semestinya work dengan yang bagus. Tapi ada healthy and unhealthy ways to grieve. Ada cara yang sehat dan tidak sehat untuk grieving. Apa sebenarnya healthy grieving? So when we talking about healthy grieving, we're looking at the hala tuju of grief. So the most important thing that we need to remember sebenarnya is that grief itu adalah an active process. It is something that the person as an individual will have to go through in themselves. So the griever mesti menerima, they need to menerima the reality bahawa kematiannya telah berlaku dan akan berkekal. They need to understand that so is permanent. The loss has happened and it will be with them forever for the rest of their life. They need to merasai reaksi emosi yang dialami. They need to understand that tengah bersedih because of my grief. I'm feeling this way sebab grief, sebab grieving. They need to also beradapti dengan kehidupan baru. As I mentioned earlier tadi, the new normal. They need to start to adapt, begin to konsumsi, learn a new skill, that kind of adaptation with the new life. And also, but as they also adapt, they also should mengekalkan perikatan dengan arwah, dengan si mati. So they need to, as they move forward as well, this is their bond with the loved one, their loved one. And while they are mengekalkan perikatan, they also membina makna baru from that loss, build new meaning from that loss. And finally, through all this, they will go through a group fasa perkembangan. So, we talk about healthy grief. What about unhealthy grief? Apa grief yang tidak sehat? So, grief yang tidak sehat tu, yang quite straightforward. Grieving yang tidak sehat atau coping secara maladaptif boleh memudaratkan dari segi fizikal, emosi dan rohani. So, for example, penyalahgunaan alkohol atau dadah. So, I'll give you one example of a case that I've heard before lah. So, the griever tu, lost his wife due to cancer, and the grief was so bad that Nya tidak dapat cope with the grief of losing the wife, that he went into schizophrenia actually due to misuse of drugs. So an example like that, Nya tidak dapat cope dengan kehilangan isterinya. So the closest, the easiest way out was to misuse drugs, menggunakan dadah sampai Nya kena schizophrenia. Bila kita dah reach that stage, it is difficult to move back. So, something like this could have easily been stopped at the root kalau yang berjaya untuk resolve this grief healthily. Ataupun terlalu bergantung dengan avoidance behavior, tingkah laku mengelak. So, let's say you are constantly grieving and it hurts so bad, tapi kita selalu avoid saja. You just avoid semua agama, semua nangga. You just choose to forget that it has happened. You don't want to see any kind of reminders, any kind of, you hold it in, disimpan aja dalam all your feelings. You don't want to share, you want to avoid all that feeling because you don't want to feel bad. That one in the long run boleh memudaratkan kesihatan emosi, memudaratkan emosi atau emosi yang berlebihan. So for example tadi the 5 stages tadi, let's say anger. Kalaunya emosi berlebihan, for example, dia cepat marah sampai memukul, melempar barang, marah dengan Tuhan, marah dengan Allah, all that is emosi yang berlebihan. And that can cause memudaratkan dari segi rohani. So grieving yang tidak sehat akan memanjangkan penderitaan dan mengganggu aktiviti sosial, will affect your daily routine and will menghalang kehidupan daripada dijalani sepenuhnya. So apa faktor yang that can cause the grief control? So how the things that can cause the intensity of the grief sebenarnya adalah the type of loss. For example, adakahnya traumatic? Is it a traumatic loss? For example, murder or perhaps suicide. That is a very traumatic loss. Adakahnya anticipated? For example, kena diagnosis a terminal illness. You know that the death will occur, tapi belum berlaku. Tapi at that point you are already grieving already. Or is it unexpected? For example, accident di jalan raya ataupun illness that immediately cause death. And that can cause affected grief. That could be the individual. The individual can be from their upbringing, how they raised up, pun culture. For example, budaya orang Barat dengan orang kita, the way we grieve very different. Di Western, yang orang suka kelakar, they always get together. But in our culture, we have a different way of grieving together. Gender, male and female, they have 2 different ways of grieving. Males, for example, females prefer to express through verbal, whereas males are more instrumental. Psychosocial situation, orang yang adakah they are more introvert kah, extrovert, this kind of thing. Spirituality, orang yang adakahnya more spiritually inclined, yang suka prefer cara agama ataupun yang progresif pula, that depends dengan the individual juga lah. dan akhirnya health. So the last factor is also the loss. Your relationship with the person. Adakah the person that lost you, adakah your friend, your friend's friend, or your family member? And then also the time spent with the loss. Okay. So my friend, family, or colleague experience a loss. How do I support them? Kan keluarga kami pernah mengalami kehilangan. How do I support them? Ini bagaimana menyokongnya? Sebenarnya the list is much more longer than this, but this is the most common, the common thing that people tend to do lah. First is untuk mengelakkan daripada memberi advice ataupun lecture. I will give an example of this. Elakkan daripada bagi advice ataupun melecture yang orang lain. Jangan also mengelakkan daripada avoiding them and also giving cliché. Tapi instead, you should acknowledge their feelings, be present, and also offer help. So the first one, offering advice. Kita patut mengelakkan daripada bagi advice. For example, macam dulu bila kami sedih, kami suka kami pergi jogging. Bila kami jogging, habis jogging kami okey dah. Kita patut sebagainya. But it works for him, tapi mestinya orangnya prefer to that way. Ataupun, you need to move on. Dah 20 tahun dah yang meninggal, kita masih grieving. That is sebenarnya a big no-no when it comes to supporting someone. So instead, you can avoid untuk offer advice and give solution, tapi instead acknowledge their pain and realize that grief so sebenarnya is fundamental untuk prosesnya. Maybe boleh invite orang, do you want to go for a walk, mau jalan sih, pergi minum kopi ke, kakak macamnya, sit dulu talk to them about telling them what to do. I did not reach out to you because I thought you needed time alone. Kalau kita sebab kami asal, tak patut, maybe you needed some time, mau bersendirian dulu. That is also probably a big no-no. Kalau dapat, being sad tu yang very lonely. Grieving tu, asal kita seorang aja. Since grieving, everyone grieves very differently. So, boleh dapat adanya. I just want to let you know that I'm here for you if you need anything or if you want anyone to talk about. And finally, cliches. Cliches tu, a lot of people are guilty lah. Kami juga pernah make this mistake juga. Cliché macam for example, everything happens for a reason. Ini semua takdir. Be strong, bersabar. Pernah sih pada bersabar dengan orang yang tengah grieving. Kami pernah. Kami pun kena marah juga dengan that. So it feels rasa macam betul, like the right thing to say. Tapi actually tiada bawa any kind of value and meaning dengan orang grieving. Sebab bunyinya macam kita tengah advising dia. Dia sama macam the first one. Sebab it sounds like you are telling them what to do. Kita tengah lecture yang bila kita suruhnya be strong, betapa apa sebenarnya griever yang rasa. It feels that if I need to be strong, it means that I cannot cry. It means that kami pun minta pada kami untuk be strong. Kami mesti tahan aja semua rasa sakitnya dalam. So that is the kind of things that they feel sebenarnya wadahnya. So this is a long list. Kalau mau can go to our Facebook page lah on how to support others in bereavement. Macam tadi I mentioned, stay in touch with them on a regular basis. Then always check in on them, ask them to see how they're doing. Be there to listen with what they have to say. Thoughtful great gestures. Macam kita constantly invite orang untuk minum, invite yang keep in touch with them. Kadang-kadang that text, kita text saja pun is already enough sebenarnya. Or even if you're in the same room, si kelakar pun is better than nothing lah. And grief often takes a long time to process. So grief tu kadang-kadang for some people can take a few months, kadang-kadang a few years. But for some people kadang-kadang 20 tahun pun masih bersetuju dengan jual. So perlu ingat that subject adalah about them, bukan kita. So avoid talking about your experience. Dia ada yang belakang. Si perlu cerita your experience dengannya. Si perlu pada macam kami pun grief. Kami pun grief dulu sampai. Bila kami sedih, kami sampai. That does not help. Sebab they want to feel validated. They want to feel acknowledged. Yang orang mau rasa that ni orang yang tengah sedih. So, dengar je. So this is another grief model yang I like to use lah. Louis Tompkins grief model, growing around her. So selalunya orang Padah lama kelamaan grief dia akan hilang. Tapi sebenarnya grief dia will forever be with you. Sentiasa akan ada dengan kita. Whether the grief kita rasa dari kita kecil sampai sekarang, grief dia sentiasa akan ada. Tapi instead, rather than the grief is getting smaller, you are growing around the grief. Kita tengah macam kita live with the grief, kita move forward with the grief. Okay. So now I'll share with you about the circle of support. Since we are here a community and we all have our roles when it comes to supporting other people in grief. So imagine kita adalah the round great circle dia, and then your immediate circle is your friends, your family, your family and your intimate partners, macam your spouse kah, ataupun isteri, anak, semua, that's your family. The second layer is your friends and informal support service. Informal support service tu macam NGO, NGO ataupun kawan-kawan rakan kerja. Imam. Dan finally, the outermost layer is the formal support service macam klinik ataupun hospital. Okay. So, ambil baik senario. Okay. Bapa Miss A baru-baru meninggal dunia 2 hari lalu akibat kemalangan. Miss A masih tinggal bersama ibu bapaknya dan mempunyai 5 orang adik-beradik. Tetapi semua adik-beradik dah berkahwin dan tinggal di tempat lain. Kini dia tinggal bersama ibu di rumah dan masih rasa kematian itu tidak nyata. Ada kala dia tersilap memanggil ayahnya untuk makan malam sebelum menyadari bahawa ayahnya sudah tiada. Dia berasa sedih, tidak dapat tidur, tidak ada selera makan dan tidak dapat berhenti memikirkan ayahnya kerana mereka ada dapat. Miss A juga menyatakan bahawa ibunya akan menangis setiap pagi selepas solat, tapi dia tidak bercakap dengannya. Apa tengah berlaku dengan Miss A? Dia going through grief. So, what should Miss A do? Apa patut Miss A buat? So, as a family, sebelum Miss A membantu ibunya, yang harus memeriksa dirinya dulu. Yang perlu check yourself. Yang pun emotional level dan memastikan penjagaan dirinya terlebih dahulu sebelum dia menolong maknya. Sama-sama macam bila naik kapal terbang, put on your face mask before helping others. You have to help yourself before you can help others. Miss A boleh mendapat sokongan dari ahli keluarga yang lain. Barulah dia boleh menyokong ibunya. So, kenapa family support so penting? So, salah satu cara untuk mengharungi kehilangan adalah mengimbau kenangan dengan arwah saya. So, this is something unique that only the family that can do. Macam your bond with your sibling, your bond with your brothers, and only the two of you share the memories dengan the si arwah. For example, untuk Miss A tu yang ada adik-beradiknya dan all of them kehilangan bapaknya. So, adik-beradiknya, they have gone through an experience that only the 5 of them understand. And that is a different kind of bond compared to the other layer. So, another thing is that bapa Miss A adalah penyiaran utama keluarga. Miss A masih belajar dan ibunya seorang suri rumah. Ayahnya dulu menyiaran mereka. So, apa lagi kehilangan yang dialami oleh Miss A? So, Miss A also kehilangan financial debt. They are going through a secondary loss, which is a financial loss. Dia hilang their main breadwinner. So, terpaksa Miss A mencari jalan untuk menyara dirinya dan ibunya dari segi kewangan. So, ini adalah a form of menyelesaikan kehidupan barunya dengan kehilangan, a form of the change of function when we. So, untuk menyelesaikan diri dengan kehilangan baru, so other family members, what they can do is that they can mungkin boleh sponsor pendidikan, boleh bayar pelajaran harian ataupun membantu dengan peluang kerja. So, the main objective adalah untuk mengurangkan beban. So, the second layer adalah friend and informal support services. So, I give another scenario. Encik B adalah seorang bapa yang anaknya baru saja disahkan mengidap kanser terminal dan diberi masa kurang setahun untuk hidup. Sebagai ketua rumah tangga, dia merasakan bahawa dia perlu kuat untuk keluarga. Dia tidak mahu kelihatan lemah atau sedih di hadapan anaknya dan ahli keluarganya, supaya tidak merisaukan mereka. Kadang-kadang dia akan berpura-pura baik saja supaya tidak kelihatan seperti tiada harapan. Dia mungkin bimbang terhadap anaknya, tapi juga kadang-kadang mengelak untuk pulang ke rumah dan balik lewat dari tempat kerja. So, Mr. B tengah going through anticipatory grief. Apa maksud Mr. B terbelang itu? So, Mr. B enggan bercakap dengan isterinya mengenai perkara itu sebab dia tidak mahu kelihatan berputus asa dan mahu menjadi support system untuk keluarga. So, as a friend or colleague, rakan-rakannya di tempat kerja menyadari perubahan tingkah laku. Dia sedar adanya macam lain tak? Sebab dia selalu ada pilih untuk balik lewat. And sepatutnya memberi kesokongan. As a friend, apakah your role as a friend? Mungkin boleh beri sokongan secara logistik, mungkin tolong untuk hantar barang ke anything untuk mengurangkan beban. Dari segi kewangan boleh tolong, or more importantly boleh menjadi ruang untuk meluahkan isi hati tanpa tekanan. So the importance sebenarnya when it comes to role as a friend is that kefahamannya adalah lebih baik sebab dia orang boleh, they come from a similar background, dia akan bahkan generasi yang sama, so there is better understanding between the two. So tidak perlu paksa dia balas, cukuplah berkata saya sini kalau awak perlukan, nanti begini ini. And also there is informal support services. So I give you an example for informal support services NGO. Cik T diagnosed dengan HIV. Dia berasal dari keluarga yang sangat beragama dan mempunyai kawan yang beragama. Cik T takut keluarganya akan marah dan mengutuknya jika mereka mengetahui diagnosisnya kerana sifat penyakit ini. Sejak didiagnosis, Missy tidak pernah memberitahu siapa kerana takut dia akan kesan dan mula mengalami malam tanpa tidur, kebimbangan dan rasa malu dan bersalah. Apa dengan berlaku dengan Missy? Disenfranchised grief. Disenfranchised grief tu basically is grief yang orang rasa sepatutnya rasa grieving. So apa the main barrier of support for Missy? So Cik T yang tidak selesa berbincang tentang hal ini dengan rakan dan keluarganya sebab rasa malu. Dia tidak nyati mak ni orang tahu that she is going to this, that she had this. So instead Cik T mengambil keputusan untuk mendapatkan sokongan daripada NGO ataupun organisasi tempatan yang menawar khidmat kaunseling. So as a local support provider, anda boleh menjadi pendengar yang supportive dan tidak menghakimi. And it's important also for them, local support provider, untuk mencipta suasana yang selesa dan bebas risiko untuk meluahkan isi hati. Dan membantu individu untuk mendapatkan bantuan lanjut daripada agensi atau organisasi yang sesuai. Jadi local supporting group boleh menjadi tempat yang boleh cari other agencies that can help you. Dan also it is important for them to be to psycho-educate and advocate. And finally, the formal support services. This is quite straightforward. So it's actually quite important as well. Actually. So when do you want to involve formal support services? So you should involve formal support services bila keselamatan terancam. For example, the person that you know sudah start to do self-harm ataupun harming others, that is keselamatan, ataupun coping yang tidak sihat. You found out that your breather starting to take bahan, taking drugs, you can involve them. Ataupun mengganggu fungsian harian, tingkah laku yang tidak berbeza dan nampak tidak sihat dari segi fizikal. So this you can boleh nasihat untuk mendapatkan kemudahan rawatan perubahan dekat dan jangan paksa mereka untuk mendapatkan bantuan. So I'm coming to the end of this. So I will talk about DHT Center, which is the center that I'm from. So DHT Center for Grief, Bereavement and Trauma is a not-for-profit organisation that was established to be a safe haven for those who are grieving. Ada tempat yang safe untuk anyone yang mau datang untuk grieve. So we provide peer grief support untuk siapa-siapa yang going through loss. So here we are not a replacement untuk mental health professionals, but instead we choose to complement their services. So always seek professional help kalau you are struggling with intense emotions and physical symptoms. So our center is actually located sebelah Reservoir Park, next to amphitheatre, and we are open from Monday to Friday and Saturdays for appointment only. So kalau mau get to know more about us, you can always visit us on our Facebook page and our Instagram. Yeah, that is all. Thank you very much for listening. I hope dapat bawa balik lah that I said today.
Majlis kita sekali lagi dengan sesi soal jawab. Sebarang persoalan boleh diajukan kepada penceramah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Grief ni lebih kepada kemurungan ni tak?
Itu mestinya kemurungan is already a clinical diagnosis lah. Grief is something semua orang akan go through. Rasa kesedihan bila kehilangan.
Maksudnya kesedihan. Misalnya kita jumpa kes macam ni dari psikologi yang kita kadang-kadang kita need someone to talk, kan? Jadi macam beberapa slide sebelumnya tadi tu mention tentang try not to talk about apa yang sedang testing, kan? Jadi how to navigate macam at least mun kita jumpa dengannya and then kita kelakar dengannya, apa actually yang kita akan sedangkan kadang-kadang orang yang apabila dia depressed ataupun mungkinnya kemurungan, kan dia need someone to caring about him ataupun about her lah. Jadi apa benda good advice ataupun benda yang lebih orang kata lebih sepatutnya not to talk and what to talk.
So to make it simple, okay, what we want to do sebenarnya is to acknowledge yang pun pain. So orangnya dia tengah kalau for example dia tengah sedih, dia going through something very difficult. So yang what I usually say is macam, oh, it must be very difficult for what you're going through. Rasa apa sakit susah juga rasa ni tak, sakit juga rasanya dia sedih rasanya. Daripada we want them to share their emotions with us. We want them to be able to meluahkan isi hati, and from there we can listen, we ajar. Sometimes they just want someone to talk to aja. Kita sit pada apa pun kadang-kadang it's better than saying something.
Hello. Okay, saya ada soalan mengenai yang denial kan. Ada yang orang yang melalui grief ini dia in denial. Dan dia boleh jadi dia dalam denial tu dia in a long time. What we should do, kita patut ingatkan dia ke, or just like macam kita advise dia untuk, tapi kan kita tak boleh bagi advice kan. What should we do for in that kind of situation? Apa yang kita patut buat untuk orang yang dalam denial?
So in that case, not necessarily mean that it's bad lah, because you have to see how it's more important that kita tengok how is that person coping with denial sebenarnya. Sebab kadang-kadang even now I have lost for example myself, I have lost my childhood friend due to suicide, tapi even now it still feels macam it's not real. Rasa macam she still tengah bercuti. That is a form of denial juga. Does that answer your question? What should we do? Kan? Usually, okay, to extend it some more, we have to be able to be with them. We can let them talk to you about their grief. Why do they feel that way? Allow them to share, emotions, like why do they feel denial. Sometimes they, bila orangnya dalam denial, sometimes they know, dia orang tahu that the death has occurred, tapi susah nak percaya. So most of these things, it can help kalau for example during the grieving process, funeral. So what helps with the stages of denial is, for example, kalau a person did not attend the funeral, dia during the early part dia I don't tak sanggup nak tengok my arwah masuk tanah, so dia tak tengok. And for that is something that can cause the denial stage to linger, akan affect the grieving process.
Hello. Okay. So I have a question. Can you explain on more detail about disenfranchised grief?
Disenfranchised grief, the reason I talk into detail because it can go very, very lama lagi. So disenfranchised grief is basically grief yang from the perception of the public, we are not supposed to grieve. So for example tadi in my example, person tu ada HIV positif. Dia grieving, tapi kalau orang lain dengar dia HIV, they don't see it as grief. They see the different part of it. They'll see the stigma that comes to HIV. They'll say that, oh, you ni what's that? Very open, very social. So tapi for her, she is grieving sebenarnya. So that is another type of disenfranchised grief is suicide. So if I lost a friend to suicide, tapi sama juga, people will see, oh dia died through suicide, tapi they don't see the suicide. They will see the implications. So macam, oh dia kurang iman, dia kurang ini, kurang itu. Tapi for the person yang lost family members due to suicide, that is also disenfranchised grief juga.
Berakhir sudah sesi soal jawab kita. Terima kasih diucapkan kepada Encik Muhammad Hassan Taufik atas drama yang disampaikan tadi. Dipohon penceramah untuk kekal berada di atas pentas bagi acara seterusnya. Majlis berbesar hati ingin menyampaikan cenderamata sebagai tanda penghargaan kepada tetamu jemputan acara pada hari ini. Dengan ini, majlis mempersilakan Dr. Ida Jelana binti Mr. Zuhud selaku program Hari Bukan Tetangga untuk menyampaikan cenderamata kepada penceramah.